Here's the headline in the Mail. Have a look at this. Sunak warns of risk of split with US over Labour arms to Israel row. And this is essentially, of course, about the Labour's decision to not sell as many weapons to Israel, Roberts.
I thought it was a big mistake.
Did you?
That the government made for a number of reasons. First, it was very crass. It was done on the day when 6 hostages were massacred by Hamas. And secondly, as the former Prime Minister said, it's very different from what the United States are doing. We're supposed to have an alliance with the United States. But most importantly, it's morally wrong. You know, everyone forgets that Jews and international people were massacred in a most horrific way, sexually abused. Hundreds of hostages were taken on October the 7th. Israel faces an existential crisis against 2 terrorist groups, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, funded by Iran. And at this time, we should be demonstrating our support for Israel rather than trying... And this has been done for political reasons.
I'm sensing Gemma doesn't agree.
No, I don't agree at all. I agree that, you know, Hamas are a terrorist organisation, all the things that are stated every single time, that 7th of October was disgusting, etc. But when you say they have the right to defend themselves, where is the line in the sand? 40,000 people... the bare minimum have been killed. You can see that people are just being flattened, destroyed, a race are being killed. And Netanyahu is doing this for brute political force at this point because he knows if there was an election, he would be voted out, and he's pandering to the far right of his party to keep them happy. And if the hostages' families themselves have marched in Tel Aviv to demand a ceasefire, that tells me that they don't agree with Gaza being blanket bombed on a daily basis.
These are pictures of Gaza, of course. And I'll just show you some pictures of these protests, because this is fascinating how many Israelis...
Well, what I would say, first of all, unlike in Gaza or in Lebanon, this shows what a democracy Israel is, because you wouldn't have those demonstrations in most countries in the Middle East. And what you've also got to remember is not just Hamas in Gaza, but every day Hezbollah from Lebanon are firing hundreds of missiles into Israel. The whole of northern Israel has virtually had to be evacuated.
But your point, Gemma, is that what they're using an army against kids? Is that basically...
Absolutely.
Well, I wouldn't accept that for 1 minute.
And also, of course, Hezbollah, of course, is heating up in that area. What do you expect when this continues? This has been going on since October with no end in sight. And actually, this idea that the US are going to reject Britain forever because we've gone our own way, I mean, from the party who so-called believe in sovereignty. And it is a disgrace that we're providing arms to Israel to kill thousands of children.
There is moral equivalence. You know, I view that Israel, like you can see it just on your screen, Israel is a democracy. It is got its faults. It's not doing everything right, absolutely. But name me one war where innocent people haven't been tragically killed or lost their lives. When the Allies went into Iran.
So
let me just play Keir Starmer here, because this is obviously Labour talking. It's difficult because Labour are in between your two positions. They're not stopping all arms sales. They're stopping a few. So he defended the government's decision to suspend some of them. Let's see.
We will, of course, continue to stand by Israel's right to self-defence. But it is important that we are a country committed to the international rule of law. We either comply with international law or we don't. And we only have strength in our arguments because we comply with international law. I appreciate the party opposite didn't think that international law mattered.
And that's my point to you as well. When the courts, international courts, are saying that war crimes are being committed, how can you support that?
Well, I think that, first of all, I think that Labour are sadly pandering because of having lost a lot of votes from Islamists. You've got new extreme Islamists in Parliament. No, Labour lost lots of votes.
Muslim voters?
Yeah, Muslim voters.
Sorry. Okay,
Labour's lost lots of votes. You know, John Ashworth lost his seat. I think this is all about politics rather than doing what is morally right, which is defending a democratic ally that is in the front line against the war against extreme Islamists.
OK, go on.
Well, I personally believe Netanyahu does not have support, the majority in Israel, because, you know, if there was an election, he would be gone. He is out of control. He has... If my child had been taken hostage and I knew for a fact, which we do, that there had been several offers from Hamas to give the hostages back if some kind of negotiation was reached, and he had refused, who would I hold responsible when those areas have been...
All right, let's move on.